Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News. Everything is completely normal. Nothing is on fire, and the global situation is only slightly more stable than a lawn chair at a monster truck rally. We got war headlines, government shutdown drama, gas prices acting like they got caffeine in their tank, and artificial intelligence trying to convince us it deserves a corner office. If you feel like the news sounds more like a rejected Fast and Furious script every day, congratulations. Your brain is still working. Segment 1. World War III Light and the Strait of Don't Touch My Gas Money. We are now several weeks into what leaders are calling a limited military operation, which is a phrase that usually means unlimited anxiety for everyone watching their 401k evaporate like spilled moonshine in July. The United States and Israel are trading missile strikes with Iran, and now the Houthis jumped in like that one cousin who shows up to a fistfight late but still wants credit for winning. Apparently, the Strait of Hormuz, which carries about a fifth of the world's oil, is now being treated like a toll booth run by people who don't take coupons. Oil markets went up 10%, then down 10%, then sideways like a drunk raccoon trying to cross the highway. The grounded reality here is that whenever oil gets jumpy, everything else gets expensive, and suddenly the price of eggs starts acting like they were laid by endangered chickens. And while world leaders are trying to negotiate peace, they're doing it through middlemen, which sounds less like diplomacy and more like trying to buy concert tickets on Craigslist. Pakistan is helping broker talks, which shows how complicated things are when the solution to global conflict starts sounding like a group project nobody wanted to do. I swear international politics now feels like three guys arguing over who scratched whose truck in a Walmart parking lot. Except the trucks are nuclear capable, and the Walmart is the entire planet. The absurdity keeps escalating, but underneath the jokes is the reality that every escalation shakes markets, shipping lanes, and national budgets. Nothing says economic stability like missiles flying over major oil routes while investors try to guess tomorrow's price of diesel using vibes. Segment 2. Shutdown season and government running on empty. Meanwhile, back home, the Department of Homeland Security has been shut down for 44 days, which means we now officially have a federal government operating on the same financial planning strategy as a guy who keeps putting groceries on a credit card, hoping next paycheck is bigger. Over 100,000 employees are waiting to get paid, and airport security has been stretched thinner than gas station toilet paper. The administration had to scramble emergency funds just to keep TSA agents showing up, so planes don't turn into airborne escape rooms. Nothing boosts traveler confidence like knowing airport staffing decisions are being made with the urgency of duct taping a radiator leak. Congress is still arguing over funding priorities, which feels like watching two mechanics debate engine oil while the car is already rolling downhill. The Senate passed one bill, the House passed another, and now both are looking at each other like two raccoons fighting over the same piece of trash. The grounded observation here is that government shutdowns have real effects on transportation, disaster response, and border operations, which are not exactly optional features like heated cup holders. Yet somehow the political strategy seems to be stall until the problem fixes itself, which is also the same strategy people use with weird noises in their car engine. Segment 3. Supreme Court decisions and the legal Olympics. Over at the Supreme Court, they are currently deciding issues that will shape elections, immigration rules, and the gig economy, basically rewriting the rulebook while half the country is still arguing about the scoreboard. One major case could change how mail-in ballots are counted, which means election season might now include people arguing over postmarks like they're collecting vintage stamps. Another case is deciding whether delivery drivers count as interstate workers, which is important because apparently the legal definition of a trucker now depends on how far a box of cereal travels before it reaches your front porch. If you ever wondered how complicated the economy has become, there are lawyers arguing whether a muffin technically crossed state lines. There is also a looming case about birthright citizenship, which sounds like the kind of debate that starts as a legal argument, but ends with everyone yelling about the Constitution at Thanksgiving dinner. The absurdity is that decisions affecting millions of people can hinge on the interpretation of phrases written when people still thought powdered wigs were a fashion choice. The grounded reality is that legal definitions shape policy outcomes for decades, and once these rulings land, reversing them is about as easy as putting toothpaste back in the tube using a leaf blower. Segment 4. AI wants a raise and robots want performance reviews. Artificial intelligence companies are now being told to actually make money instead of just making PowerPoint slides about future money, which is apparently a shocking twist for investors who thought hype was a long-term business model. Tech analysts are calling 2026 the prove-it year for AI, which is corporate language for show me the receipts. Billions have been spent on chips, servers, and data centers, and now shareholders want results faster than a teenager waiting for Wi-Fi to reconnect. NVIDIA is still holding the golden ticket because whoever controls the chips controls the entire digital buffet line. Meanwhile, academics are warning that AI systems are now capable of generating research papers, designing experiments, and potentially hallucinating scientific breakthroughs, like a caffeinated science fair project. We may soon have robots peer-reviewing other robots, which sounds efficient until you realize the robots might start citing each other like a pyramid scheme of footnotes. The grounded observation is that technology is shifting from novelty to infrastructure, and infrastructure tends to determine economic winners and losers. The absurdity is that the machines might soon be arguing about productivity metrics, while humans argue about whether the machines are allowed to argue. Segment 5. Medical breakthroughs and the economy of staying alive. Scientists are working on an oral insulin pill that could replace injections, which is huge news for millions of people who currently feel like human pincushions. Researchers are also finding ways to treat chronic pain by preventing nerve growth in damaged spinal discs, which sounds like something that would have been considered science fiction back when people thought the height of innovation was sliced bread. Vitamin B3 is now being studied as a treatment for fatty liver disease, which means the solution to modern health problems might be hiding in the same aisle as breakfast cereal. The grounded reality is that medical innovation quietly changes lives more consistently than political speeches, but it rarely gets the same airtime as dramatic headlines. The absurdity is that humanity can engineer molecular solutions to chronic disease, but still cannot design a phone battery that lasts all day. Progress often feels like upgrading the engine while the rest of the car is held together with duct tape and hope. Still, breakthroughs like these remind us that while politics and markets fluctuate wildly, science keeps grinding forward like a tractor that refuses to stall. Segment 6. Weather gone wild and infrastructure feeling the pressure. Late-season blizzards just smacked parts of the United States, while other regions of the world are dealing with flooding so severe, it looks like the planet accidentally left the faucet running overnight. 500,000 people lost power in some areas, which is inconvenient enough until you remember disaster response agencies are currently operating with reduced staffing thanks to the ongoing shutdown. Nothing says preparedness like cutting resources right when Mother Nature decides to run a stress test. It is like unplugging the smoke alarm because the battery was annoying. Across parts of Africa, extreme flooding and drought are happening at the same time, which sounds impossible until you remember climate systems do not follow human logic or election calendars. Farmers are dealing with unpredictable growing conditions. supply chains are getting disrupted, and insurance companies are quietly updating their stress levels. The grounded reality is that weather volatility affects food prices, infrastructure costs, and migration patterns whether anyone is paying attention or not. The absurdity is that the same species capable of splitting atoms still argues about whether umbrellas are worth bringing when the sky turns green. In conclusion, the world currently feels like a combination of economic pressure cooker, geopolitical chess match, and technology demo day that never ends. Markets react to missiles, politicians react to polls, and algorithms react to everything we click on after midnight. The chaos may feel overwhelming, but underneath the noise there are real structural changes happening in energy markets, legal frameworks, medical science, and global alliances. It is messy, unpredictable, and occasionally ridiculous. But that has always been the story of humans trying to run a complicated planet without an instruction manual. If nothing else, at least we can all agree the news cycle now moves faster than a rumor at a small-town diner.